no result from Sunday better symbolizes this season than the 10-win Cardinals losing to the Lions, who in Pearce's eyes are a 500 football team. Arizona is still minus 200 to win the division, guys, with Indy, Dallas, and Seattle to finish out the regular season there on the schedule. The under of 11.5 wins for Arizona, sitting at plus 130. Which one is the better bet, Geoff?
I'll take the under. I don't think that the Cardinals are in a good spot right now to necessarily to close this out. I really don't. I feel like Arizona just the injuries have caught up to them a little bit. Kyler Murray hasn't played as well down the stretch as he had at the start, and they have a very tough schedule coming up. They have the Colts and the Cowboys, and then a Seahawks team at the end that I think is going to give them a little bit more trouble than people think, just because, again, they won't have much to play for, excluding just taking out a division opponent. So I'm not very bullish on this Cardinals team, and I'll even throw this out there. If you're in agreement with me and you think the Rams have a shot here, jump on Matthew Stafford MVP odds right now. He's about to set some career highs in a lot of different stats. If the Rams win this division, I think he'll get some sentimental votes. I'm not bullish on the Cardinals finishing the season well at all.
Okay, Reid, how about you, man? How bullish are you on it?
Oh, I'm as bearish as Geoff is. I think Geoff is a little bit of a prisoner of the moment. And the Cardinals, DST are only one Cardinals on his season-long fantasy team, so he doesn't really feel extremely bullish on them.
Yeah, dude, Geoff, we know what your thing is here now, dude.
Yeah.
You're a fraud. We have exposed you. Every player you talk about here on this show in DFS is because he is on your season-long team. I'm coming for you, Ulrich.
It's false.
Yeah, this is attack Geoff. But going back to the question, look, their last 3 games are extremely hard, right? You got 2 teams that have the most momentum.
I have Chase Edmonds on my season-long team, by the way. So
that's why I said one. Geoff, it's not your turn anymore.
Geoff, let him talk.
Quiet. You have 2 teams, like I was saying before Geoff rudely interrupted me, that have momentum on their side in Dallas and Indy, and you have a division matchup in Seattle where they always play each other tough. The NFC West. Like, the betting angle for the NFC West is take the underdog in that matchup, and it's usually going to pan out for you. So, with that being said, the under is valuable. But at the same time, Kyler's a little hurt. D-Hop is not going to be in the regular season. You're getting Chase Edmonds back healthy. You still have a pretty good running back in James Conner and a defense that's still pretty aggressive and pretty strong. I'm not extremely bearish on them like Geoff is. For the betting side of it, I probably just stay away because they could easily come out and beat one of those 2 teams in Dallas or Indy, and then it leaves it up to Seattle. But I guess from a value perspective, the under is there. But I'm just going to stay away because I do think the Cardinals are still a good team.
All right, Pearce, the Cardinals are going to be in first place no matter what going into Week 16 because they hold that division record tiebreaker after they split the season series with the Rams here. So maybe winning division, is that a good bet?
I suppose I'm not allowed to take a Detroit Lions victory lap. I'm supposed to talk about the Cardinals.
Yes. Congrats, dude. Congrats.
Look, the Cardinals, they obviously were sleepwalking. They weren't prepared. We've seen some really good teams do this in previous seasons, where they get that late season loss, they wake up, and they regroup. The Panthers a couple seasons ago were going to be undefeated. They lost late in the season to the Falcons. So this could be a good thing. It really wasn't the worst loss ever. Detroit opens the game with an 8-minute drive. The Cardinals just missing a couple plays. At the end of the half, it's a 4th and 2. If they get in the end zone, it's 10-7 going into the half. They don't. Then the Lions get some roughing the passer calls. They hit some plays, and then it's 17-0 at half all of a sudden, and the game was pretty much over. I'm not going to overreact to that. If I do want to overreact and side a little with Geoff, it's that the Arizona rush defense is not playing well. This is a serious problem, and if that continues, then, it's going to hurt their chances of getting a good seed. It's also going to really kill them in the playoffs. They've got to fix that immediately.
Gentlemen, let's go to America's division here. Let's go to the division of the working man. That's the AFC South, where the Titans blew their chance to jump to the number 1 seed by losing to the Steelers. So Tennessee remains the heavy favorite here to win the division, despite its lead being trimmed to just 1 game over the Colts, who have better odds to win the conference, actually. So, Reid, which team do you like more to make a deeper playoff run here? You like the Colts or you like the Titans?
Well, the obvious cop-out answer is, it depends where they land, right, and what their path to the Super Bowl is. But, if we take that out in a vacuum, I think the Colts have a better shot at doing this, right? They're just made for a large or for a deep playoff run. They have the best player and running back, probably the most valuable player when you break down that word. and we'll go to Pearce on the actual breaking down of vernacular in the NFL. But like he has a touchdown in like every single game since like week 4, and their defense is really strong. We saw that this past week, that their defense gets you there. Carson Wentz is the question mark, but you got a Tennessee team that doesn't play solid on defense at all. They're void of running backs, despite what Jeff's going to tell you about Foreman, Hilliard, and whoever else is back there. They might get Derrick Henry back, and AJ Brown's getting healthier, but that still doesn't mitigate the issues that they have on defense. So the Colts are positioned there. Having said that, they're an indoor team. If they have to go to New England, Kansas City, and play in the cold in the playoffs, that's definitely going to hurt. If they can get to that 3 seed and they can get home field advantage and play Lucas Oil as much as possible, then I like the Colts in this one.
Okay, Pearce, how we feel about this? You got the Titans minus 800 to win the AFC South, but they're just plus 1,000 to win the conference. Indy has a better odds to win the conference.
That's because the sportsbook knows the Titans are frauds. Been saying it all season. The team has a good pass rush, and that's where the conversation ends. What else do the Titans do that's good? I don't know. They don't have receivers. They don't have a line. The line's been playing okay. That's not great. Donta Foreman had 100 yards yesterday against Pittsburgh. Big deal. He still lost the football game. Tennessee is not a good team. And what do we always say? Well, wait till Derrick Henry in December. Wait for Derrick Henry in the playoffs. It's wait for Jonathan Taylor in December. Wait for Jonathan Taylor in the playoffs. The Colts have a decent pass game. They have a good offensive line, a great running back. They have a good rush defense, and they have a pass defense that works pretty well preventing big plays. They are really well suited to make a major run and shock the world.
Oh, wow, Jeff. Listen, even if Derrick Henry recovers from his foot surgery in time for the playoffs, Tennessee may have already lost valuable ground to the top teams in the conference, and that's going to leave them a tough road to Super Bowl 56.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not even going to argue. Like, the Colts are the better team right now. So if you're looking at these odds, like, I think this is correct. Even with the Colts, look, there is still a scenario. We're all, like, clamoring about the Colts and John. There's still a scenario where the Colts don't make the playoffs. I mean, there's 4 teams, Buffalo, Chargers, Ravens, and Colts. One of those teams aren't making the playoffs. So just keep that in mind here. As much as we're talking and we're building them up, they're like 1 loss away from being out of the playoff picture, right? So I do think the Colts are the better team right now. That being said, the Titans are nowhere near as bad a team as Pearce is making them out to be. Their defense has stepped up. They have the best rush defense in the league over the last few games. They can run the ball. All they did, they just basically gave the game away to Pittsburgh. If they just stopped turning over the ball, they win that game by 10 points. They're still very live to win the AFC because the AFC is a complete crapshoot. They have wins over all the top teams this year, the Titans do. Derrick Henry, by the way, as the Titans insider, his rehab is going extremely well. He might even be back for week 18 if they need him. That's how well it's going, Pearce. All this Jonathan Taylor talk. Anyways, I actually don't mind getting on either of these teams for futures. I think you need to look at both of them. They both come with a little bit of risk, but you're getting the best odds. And I think both these teams are very live to win the AFC this year.
I mean, with the addition of a 17th game, a typically dramatic end to the regular season is likely to be even more thrilling. We're seeing that right now. There hasn't been a whole lot of clarity in terms of like the playoff picture. We do know, at least right now, the Ravens 2 for 8 on 2-point conversions this season, which analytics alert means you're not very good at going for 2. Another cruel loss for Baltimore, moving the Bengals into first place in the AFC North, and Pittsburgh is just refusing to go away. On one hand, right, you give Harbaugh and company credit for hanging in there against the Packers with a backup quarterback and that injury-ravaged roster, but then on the other, 3 straight losses. They're now out of the playoff picture as of this very moment. You can get even money here, plus 100, for them to make the postseason. You like that bet, Pearce, or we're out on the Ravens?
Yeah, I've been out on the Ravens all season. This is probably my number 1, number 2 fraudulent team. They're not a good team. They needed a 66-yard field goal to beat the 500 Detroit Lions, if we don't forget. So, yeah, did they almost lose yesterday? Could they have won the last couple games? Maybe. But look, the secondary of this team is completely injured. They lost another cornerback yesterday. Aaron Rodgers was just cutting through this team. Had a near perfect game. They scored 31 points. Good teams don't allow 31 points. They're going to argue that, well, the Ravens scored a bunch of points. They came back. The Ravens were down 14 points with 8 minutes left, and the Packers went into prevent defense. They were playing their linebackers 5 yards off the ball. That doesn't work against anyone, especially against a rushing quarterback. And so Huntley was able to run for 5-10 yards, dumped the pass off, and ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. The one time the Packers played defense at the end of the game was on the 2-point conversion, and guess what? They didn't convert. The Ravens are frauds.
All right, Reid, what would you be betting when it comes to the Ravens here?
Next year.
Yeah. We're turning. You're thinking they're out.
Yeah, I mean, look at their last 3 games too. Like, yes, they get the division matchup with the team that's now in first place, and the Cincinnati Bengals next. But they have the Rams and the Steelers. And what did we see with the Ravens and Steelers last time? Is that team always plays them hard, right? That team always leaves them battered and bruised. So if they finally get guys back in that last game of the season, they might lose more guys because this team just has that injury bug. It's been the Chargers for the longest time, but now it's the Ravens who are just not healthy. And Lamar Jackson, if he's in this game, and even if he was playing, could we have seen a different scenario play out? Probably not, right? Mark Andrews is fantastic, but when your tight end is your best player and that's pretty much it, it's going to be extremely hard to make a huge playoff run. They are probably a team that has gotten on the good side of variance early in the season, which is why their record is where it is. And Lamar Jackson is able to put his team on his shoulders for as much as possible. But and then the play calling too, with going for 2 at the last second. I mean, you've heard it ad nauseum, right? If you're going for 2, and if you don't want to play OT, and if you want to win regulation, you don't wait until the last play of the game to do that. You do it before. But that should be telling that Harbaugh doesn't believe that his defense and his team can win in extra innings if it's against a playoff caliber team like the Packers. So no, I'm out on the Ravens.
All right, Ulrich, Baltimore can jump right back in with a victory over the Bengals in Week 16.
Yeah, this AFC North, admittedly, like I almost want to make the argument that the Ravens have dived enough in the odds to make them like an interesting value proposition. But I think Reid and I think Pearce both alluded to things that just make me want to stay away from this team and keep staying away from it, as I've been doing. It's just they have no secondary, and their schedule is terrible. I mean, like the Rams, like Matthew Stafford is going to throw for 400 yards against this team. I mean, there's just no way. So basically, it's a must-win game last week, and then it's going to come down to them beating Pittsburgh, who, again, just always plays them extremely tough. I think you just stay away. They're interesting just because they have Lamar Jackson. I don't even really mind the decisions made by John Harbaugh. Yeah, it sucks that they missed both, but they make one of those 2-point conversions, and we're sitting here talking about them being in the division lead. So Reid's right. Like, they rode the right set of variance, and it caught up to them. And I just don't think this team has what it takes down the stretch. They'll probably lose next week just because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, again, probably just have some kind of field day. So I'm still out on the Ravens. They have moved to the odds, though, if you're a real big Lamar backer, where I think you're at least getting, good enough odds to think about them.
All right, let's go to the NFC South here, where, less than an hour ago, Ian Rappaport said that Chris Godwin, he suffered an MCL sprain last night. I feel like everyone got injured last night. Uncle Lenny got injured. Mike Evans got injured. So Godwin's expected to miss the rest of the regular season. 3 games left. Injury reserve, he says, makes sense. Godwin should be able to return to the playoffs, which is obviously more important. Last night, Reid, the Saints get a huge win, shutting out Tom Brady and the hospital Buccaneers. Minnesota plays tonight, and the winner of Washington and Philly tomorrow will obviously move to 7-7. I believe if Minnesota wins tonight, they'll knock the Saints out of that last spot. However, after beating Tampa Bay, is New Orleans your favorite right now to land that 7th seed?
Yeah, probably, right? Because, if they can feasibly go 2-1 their last 3 games. So they have the Dolphins, Panthers, and Falcons, right? So Dolphins probably a tough out, but we know the Panthers and Cam Newton and the Falcons with Matt Ryan, essentially no one else on that team other than Russell Gage apparently can do well. And the Falcons are no longer using Cordell Patterson in positive EV plays for God knows what reason. And so when you take a look at those last 3 games, then yeah, absolutely. 9 wins probably gets you in that 7th seed in the NFC. I will say this, though, the Vikings, they're plus 300 to make the playoffs. And you're getting them before tonight's game. And if they win feasibly, right, against Chicago Bears, which they can do that, then that's a nice little bet because it's probably going to be a 9-win team that gets in that 7th seed. The Saints have the easier path than the Vikings, but Vikings not a bad play. But I'd probably side with the Saints here.
Ulrich, what do you think there? Hey, doesn't sound like betting the Vikings plus 300 to make the playoffs to be all that bad, Mr. Kirk Cousins.
Hey-o. No, it's pretty bad. Their schedule is terrible, man. I mean, they got to beat the Rams and like one of the Rams and the Packers to even have a shot. I'm not even super bullish on their chances tonight, for being dead honest. This is a road game against the Bears, like in prime time. In prime time, Kirk Cousins, and we want him to just
he
go.
won last time out.
Like, this is no automatic win here. So, no, I'm not really in on the Vikings. I definitely am in on the Saints, though. I mean, I like the Saints. The Saints may not be fun to watch with Taysom Hill, but you know what they do? They win games. They won games last year with him, too. They were 4-2 with him as starting quarterback, and now they take on a Dolphins team who, they rode a hot defense for a couple weeks. Their offense is terrible. A Panthers team who's just terrible all around. And then an Atlanta team they're probably going to go 3-0 to close out the year. They might allow like 10 points in their next 3 games. No, the Saints are easily favored here. And I'd actually be semi-surprised if they didn't close out with 3 wins.
Okay, Pearce, how much you like their plus 120 odds here to get a wild card spot?
What are we doing? The Saints lost 5 games in a row. We're allowing 30 points per game.
They hadn't made the Taysom Hill switch yet.
If the playoffs started today, they're in. If the playoffs started today, they are in.
Look, they won against the Jets. Cool. They beat Tampa Bay, and Tampa in that game lost their
the best team in the league. They beat the best team in the league, but let's just brush it off. Sure.
They beat the best team in the league that was missing their best 3 players, and that best team in the league was still moving the ball.
Wait. So Tom Brady's not a top 3 player on the Bucs? Okay.
He can't. Who's he going to pass to? You think he's going to run the ball on his own? He fumbles in the red zone. They nearly won that game without those stars. Hey, congratulations, the Saints won that game, but it doesn't give me any confidence in that team moving forward that they're going to win some divisional games against teams that would love to be, play the role of upset. The Eagles are still the team. The Eagles have won 4 of the last 6. The Eagles have a breeze schedule. They're a huge favorite against against Washington. They're going to probably be a favorite against Washington again in a couple weeks. They're going to play the Giants. They might play a Dallas team that's going to sit players. Philadelphia is well rested. While half of the league is hurt or injured, they're coming off the bye. The Eagles are in a really, really good spot, and I just don't believe in the Saints team.